Welcome to PTI. I'm Alex. I have Chase right here, and I have Taylor. Taylor, we're talking about Texas and OU in the SEC. So, Taylor, what are we thinking?
I think that OU is going to be more successful than Texas. Reason being, OU in the last 20 years just literally has been more successful than Texas. Not only that, but Texas just had their best team in over 2 decades. They had their best team, and OU still beat them in a solid year for OU. Not only are we bringing in our entire defense back, but we're also bringing in a 5-star quarterback who will be a Heisman candidate. We're bringing back our running back, and we have a top 3 receiving core in the SEC. We brought in multiple offensive linemen, including who's going to be a top 5 center in Branson Hickman. We brought in a left guard who is a freshman All-American, Fabechi Nwaiwu. We brought in a lot of guys on the offensive line to replace what was a subpar offensive line for OU last year. So you're looking at an Oklahoma team who's returning multiple amazing starters on defense. We're bringing in multiple 5-star defensive tackles to beef up the run game and a stellar offensive skill maker core. This OU team is going to be better than Texas and is going to be a top 3 team in the SEC next year.
Chase, your response?
You talk about how Oklahoma has a top 3 receiver core. Texas has a top 2 receiving core. I promise you, it is not number 2. It is number 1. Isaiah Bond, Jonte Cook, Matthew Golden. I think this receiving core, you talk about stopping the run. You're going to have to stop the receiving core. I don't think the run game, as much as it's been heavy with Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Brooks, as much as the run game's been heavy for Texas, it's totally different. I think this is going to be a pass-first offense rather than a running game. So you talk about how you got all these defensive tackles. Sure, you got great DBs. I'm not going to take that away from y'all. I'm telling you, but right now we have, I think, better receivers than y'all. I think we have a better running game than y'all. And I think we have, you talk about your top 5 linemen, we have Kelvin Banks, a top 5 pick in this next draft. I'm telling you right now, Quinn Ewers, and you talk about Heisman Trophy. Jackson Arnold is not going to be a Heisman contender. Quinn Ewers is right now one of
Baker.
What?
Said the same thing about Baker.
I never said that about Baker. I said Baker was great. I think Quinn Ewers is a Heisman contender over Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold isn't even in the conversation. He's a dark horse, sure. He is not a Heisman contender, though. I don't think he's going to make it to New York. I think Quinn's going to be New York, and I think Quinn's going to be holding up the Heisman. That's a different story. I think Texas, you talk about how hard, we haven't talked about this, but Oklahoma schedule, hardest in the SEC by far, in my opinion. I think Texas, they're going 11-1 this year. Sure, they got an easy schedule. They're losing to Georgia, whatever. I think Texas goes in with Oklahoma schedule. They go 10-2, 11-1 at best, maybe undefeated. I doubt that would happen, but I think that they will have more success. They have a brighter future, better recruits coming in. Now, all right, you know what? I'm going to leave it to you.
Okay, the wide receiver core. So you have a Houston wide receiver who has faced 0 competition. You have who was a true freshman last year, and Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond is good. Matthew Golden is solid as a deep threat, but we have no idea what he looks like against the best players in the world, and neither do we have with Jonte Cook. On the OU side, we have Andrel Anthony, who was one of the best wide receivers in college football last year before he tore his ACL. Nick Anderson is one of the best wide receivers in college football, and he showed that last year. He was on a streak where he had, I think it was 8 receptions, 8 touchdowns. That kid is a freak. He is a freak. Our tight end, Bauer Sharp, that guy coming back in, now granted, he wasn't playing great competition, but when he was in FCS, he was one of the best tight ends in FCS. Okay, and that's fine. That's why I mentioned that, in FCS, he was really good, but that's not the best competition. But that kid's an athletic freak. But if you're going to say that Jackson Arnold has no place being in the Heisman conversation, and you're saying that you thought Baker was going to be good. You thought whenever Baker walked on at OU that he was going to go to back-to-back New Yorks and he was going to win a Heisman? Absolutely not. You had no idea who Baker Mayfield was. People know who Jackson Arnold is. That kid is fiery. That kid is a gunslinger. That kid is fast. He is going to be a good quarterback. Quinn Ewers is a check-down machine. Last year, he was not good.
INT machine against Arizona. Jackson Arnold. Man, 5 interceptions, whatever?
He had 3, and Quinn Ewers, how did he do in the Red River rivalry? Who won that game, by the way? That was pretty nice. You guys had a pretty good receiver core then, too. I believe you had A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy. You remember that guy? Yeah, both of those guys, they're in the NFL now, and they still couldn't beat Oklahoma. And that is with the exact same DB core returning and more. So you're looking at an Oklahoma team that not only is going to beat up on Texas, but, okay, look, Texas is not beating Michigan. They're not beating Georgia. So
I already said we're not beating Georgia.
I know. I'm not saying that you're going. I'm just saying you're not beating Michigan. You're not beating Georgia. This Texas team is going to deteriorate. And saying that your interior D-line is going to be good is shocking because Byron Murphy and I forgot the fat guy's name. So
T'Vondre Sweat.
T'Vondre Sweat, they're both gone. Your run game is not going to be better than ours. So I mean, Gavin Sawchuk, if he progresses like he should, he is 4.3 speed. And then behind him, we brought in a guy from FCS. So he, didn't face great competition. But the thing is with running backs is it doesn't matter where their competition comes from. That kid is 6 foot tall and he's 225 pounds. He is a bowling ball. His entire game is going to be whenever we have 2nd and 3, we're going to put that kid in and he's going to run straight through the middle of the offensive line and he's going to get his first downs. This run game is lightning and thunder. With Gavin Sawchuk being that lightning, and I forgot the guy's name, I'll be honest, but that kid is a bowling ball. He's going to be able to get us good yardage, and Gavin Sawchuk's going to be able to break it out. And if we can't get the run game going, we have Bauer Sharp, Nick Anderson, Angelo Anthony, Jalil Farouk, you name it, we have it on the wide receiver corps.
You talk about thunder and lightning in the running game. We had the same thing. Jaden Blue, C.J. Baxter, 2 amazing running backs. C.J. Baxter was the starter until early in his career. He was a freshman last year. He was the starter, lost it to Jonathan Brooks, who was now in the NFL. I think C.J. Baxter is going to have a breakout year. This is going to be the year that, because when he came into Texas his freshman year, I really thought that he was going to be not as good as Bijan Robinson, but very similar in his running game. Same little jump cuts that he always did at the line. He's explosive off the line. Although same with Roschon Johnson. You think about Roschon Johnson, Bijan, that was thunder and lightning. You had the same thing, in my opinion, I'm comparing it to Jaden Blue and C.J. Baxter. I think that it's going to be the same thing. Now, I didn't say the run game wasn't going to be as heavy as it's been in the past years. But I think that once we get the opportunity, you talk about 2nd and 3, C.J. Baxter not only will turn it from 2nd and 3 to a first down, turn it into a touchdown, as he showed against BYU, Kansas State, Kansas, all those teams. He will turn it into a touchdown rather than just a first down.
Speaking of touchdown, we have reached the end zone of our broadcast. Looks like we have to go to commercial, and we will see you on the other end.